Welcome. I bid you welcome. This is Johnny Metal, John Clauser, the Metal Dad, coming to you from my music corner. Last year, the W.A.S.P US tour was a huge success with many sold out shows. And now that the European tour is underway, we are seeing that the W.A.S.P tour is selling out shows again. This European tour will run through May 18th, ending in Bulgaria. Be sure to get your tickets for the European leg of the tour at waspnation.com. Also available for this European tour are the meet and greet VIP tickets. Take it from me, this is a wonderful opportunity to get to meet Blackie Lawless, get a photo taken with him, get a couple things signed by him, and take part in an intimate Q&A with Blackie Lawless himself. You can also purchase these meet and greet tickets at waspnation.com. Don't forget, you can also purchase W.A.S.P tour merchandise, official W.A.S.P tour merchandise, and exclusive classic designs at waspnation.com. Don't delay. Check it out and get your merch, get your concert tickets, your VIP tickets. Get them while you can. Welcome. I bid you welcome. This is Johnny Metal, John Clauser, the Metal Dad, coming to you from my music corner of the world. And with me today, as always, for this series, I've got my fellow Killahead, my fellow Mean Man, my fellow Neutron Bomber, my fellow Hellion, my fellow Wild One of all ages, my fellow. I can come up with a bunch of other ones, but I'm tongue-tied at the moment. John the Music Nut, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, John. How are you?
Oh man. You know, I got to tell you this little story before we as we get going on this, because this
okay
for me, I have to say this episode is going to be a deep one for me. This is a heavy one for me. So so I'm going to start with a nice little light story just to kick things off. So this past Wednesday, the reason I couldn't be in the music chat, or the live chat rather, for the Still Not Black Enough video, was I was off seeing the Winery Dogs here in Birmingham. So I wasn't, unfortunately, I was having a good time at a concert. So I'm in the venue has like a little side restaurant, and I wanted to go grab a bite to eat. And it was there I ran into a buddy that I've run into at a couple of shows, the W.A.S.P one being the last one, a fellow named Ian. Good guy. Can't wait to talk to him a little bit more and share another few concert experiences with him. But anyway, so we're just kind of yakking and killing time before the show starts. And this couple comes in and they sit next to us we're just sitting at the bar. And this couple comes by and they're there for the show as well. And we're talking a little bit. And the guy looks at me and he's like, do you have a music channel, like a video channel? And I'm like, well, yeah, I do. And he's like, you've been doing a thing on W.A.S.P, I think, right? Yeah.
Nice.
You start the whole welcome, I bid you welcome. I was like, yeah, man. I've been checking it out, man. That's a great. That's been a cool series.
Awesome.
So Jason,
awesome.
So Jason from Coleman, dude, thank you, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for surprising the heck out of me. That was wonderful, man. So I appreciate that. And so I had to start something off with on a light note, because now we go into a rather. You thought Still Not Black Enough was dark. Y'all ain't seen nothing yet.
That's true.
Oh, yeah. K.F.D. This album only charted in one country. That was in the UK. Charted about 94, I believe. It was 94. Came out in late April of 1997. There's two versions available of this. There was a Japanese version that had a different track listing. Back in the day, I actually had both of these. We alluded to last week that W.A.S.P didn't tour, or Blackie didn't tour for Still Not Black Enough. They only did 5 warm-up shows in 96, which featured a couple songs from this album. We'll get more into that. We welcome back into the fold Mr. Chris Holmes on guitar. We have Stet Howland, officially a member now on drums, and making his first appearance on a CD and band is Mike Duda, who to this day is still in the band. Of course, Stet Howland now is the drummer in Metal Church. He would be with W.A.S.P for a few albums after this one. But yeah, so we have a totally different sound with this album. Getting darker, getting deep into that dark frame that Blackie Lawless is. But I'm just going to say right now, John the Music Nut, let's go. Let's see what I will go on from there. Let you have at it.
All right. Thanks so much, John. Now, this is where W.A.S.P go industrial. This is the heaviest album to date. Heaviest doesn't necessarily mean best. Heavier doesn't mean better. This is going back to the shock rock, but he's not doing it the way he did it. Blackie isn't doing it the way he did it in the 80s. This is more akin to like 9 Inch Nails, Marilyn Manson, stuff like that. The lyrics, they're the darkest yet. Not the most imaginative on some of these songs, although there's some good lyrics on others. Chris is back in the fold, but you're not going to hear too many good solos from Chris because this is recorded so loud that it's based on the mood. The mood is very dark, much darker than anything they've done before. The first song, K.F.D, you know what it stands for. Blackie sings this with gusto. Chris is back in playing a good solo. It's okay. There's not much to it lyrically. But you know, decent opener. Take the Addiction, cool riff. One thing I could say about this, the recording, it's raw and it's very loud. It's more the sound is taking you in more than the music itself. That's what you feel on Take the Addiction. My Tortured Eyes, it's slower, more grindy. It's a decent track. Again, there's not a lot here to write home about, in my opinion. I know John has different experiences with this album than I do. We'll just say that right now. The next song is Kill Ahead. Now, when I heard this in 97, this was the song that resonated with me. To this day, I'd still say musically, it's probably the catchiest song. It's a good track. I like the riff. The chorus is as silly as they come. Die, baby, die. Wait, I'm sorry. Die, baby, die. Cry, mama. Let me think. Die, baby, die. Cry, baby, cry. Make your mama die. Kill ahead. Kill ahead. I think.
Yep, that's about right. Yeah,
that's it. But musically, it's good. It's very driving. It's got a good riff. So I like that song. Now, Kill Your Pretty Face, straight out of a horror movie, okay? It does have a very spooky, cerebral feel to it. It drags. it'd be a better track if it was cut a little bit. But I see where Blackie's trying to go here. I read that he was thinking about the movie Apocalypse Now when he was writing these lyrics. Okay, that sounds like something out of Apocalypse Now. It has that vibe.
Mhm.
Fetus is just an intro, minute 23 seconds. That goes into Little Death. Now the sound is really taking you in, and it's very. I'm not fond of the song, but I will say it is relentless. It's that I will say about it. You is slower. You have a good solo from Chris Holmes here amidst all the chaos. And let me just say, Stan Hallen's drumming on here is very good. Sometimes you got to strain to hear it because the guitars are so over the top and dominating. You got to strain to hear the drums, not like on the previous few albums that we talked about where Frankie Banali was on them.
Mhm.
So now the last two songs, I think end the album decent. Wicked Love sounds like something that could have been on the self-titled debut or Last Command
Mhm.
musically. Lyrically, we're going into Sex Drive territory again, but it's a little more creative than that one. That one actually is good. I like that. Now the horror is the big epic that ends the album, and I like this too because I love the soft into the loud here. Now this is straight out of horror. Yeah, perfect title because it sounds like something like if you're watching Halloween or something. It's just this is a strong closer, one of the best songs on the album. Now, if you compare this to the previous three albums, there are things that are missing. The lack of guitar solos. You don't hear the beauty in Blackie's voice here. Most of the time, this is screams of pain and trying to get that tortured feel. No pun intended. He was trying to make a statement here. He's trying to make a musical statement, and his vocals are like that. So you're not going to hear a "Hold on My Heart" here or a "Keep Holding On." Nothing like that. I miss
Mhm.
that personally. But in fairness, if he was to do that song, do something similar to that, it would be out of place. You're not going to get that. You're not going to get the mature lyrics that he had previously. This is going back to the beginning, but industrial. He's going for feel here. It's an acquired taste. It's not an album that I'm going to revisit much. Um, okay, it's going to pain me to say this about a band I really like. I have to give this a 5. I think
Okay.
All Music got it right. I don't agree with a lot of their reviews, but here they they reviewed it perfectly to me. I mean, not as in depth as what I said or what John's going to say, but as far as the rating, yeah, I would give this a 5. There
Yeah,
you
I
go.
think I think Martin Popoff gave this a 4 out of 10. I've not read the review, so I don't have that book, so I can't speak from what he said on that. I guess I'm gonna have to get that book at some point. But anyway, yeah. So where do I start with KFD? Huh? Let me tell you a little story. First of all, Spider's Kiss. If you're watching this, you know you lived this with me. Okay. Um, 1997 was a year where was introduced and got onto the internet for the first time. That was I had my own computer at home, and I delved into the world that is the internet. I was in chat rooms. I was making little web pages up, and all this goofy stuff. So I was discovering and maybe getting fed things that I probably didn't need to hear from people. So, that's that whole psyche that the internet and what eventually becomes social media would start doing to people. You really start getting fed things that you don't need to be hearing. You need to be tight with the person you're with, or the tight with your friends and stuff like that. And so this album came at a time where I was feeling that kind of that angst, that anxiety, that kind of I don't know, there was like a certain feel about being online, and doing things that you shouldn't be doing maybe. So this album comes out, and this would eventually become the soundtrack to probably the very darkest time in my life. Um, and the songs, music has a way of doing something to people, whether it's beautiful and magical, say, like when you listen to, say, like a Sergeant Pepper's or a Stairway to Heaven for the very first time. But then there's also these times when music can turn in sideways, and it's like evil and horrifying. And that is what this album did to me. It when I would sing the lyrics, I would take the CD and make a cassette, because I didn't have a CD player in my car. So I'd make a cassette of this. There were certain songs that I kind of gravitated more towards. And I'll get to that in a second. So I'll get to that as I go through my story here. KFD, you get this industrial wow, 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 wow. You get like this kind of this almost like a keyboard infused wah pedal guitar industrial, that industrial sound that was really big at that time with Nine Inch Nails and Marilyn Manson, and I think Rammstein was probably getting going too, maybe. So again, you just get this barrage of the KFD lyric constantly, in your face. Um, I'm not going to go through all the lyrics of the songs like I did last week, but again, a very strong opener. But then but it doesn't let up, because then you get Take the Addiction. Again, you get this heavy, this drop riff, to start the song, and again, you're just getting this industrial, like almost like a triggered drum sound, really is what a lot of this kind of sounds like. um Not so much a real drum kit, but it's almost like it's like all electronic drum type stuff. I don't know, that maybe that's me, but anyway. So you get that kind of that triggered drum sound that sounds almost like electronic drums and programming kind of thing, but that's still hitting those things like crazy. But Take the Addiction, that was another song that just, again, you get sucked in, this strong song. But then you think you're going to get let up a little bit with My Tortured Eyes. You get a much slower beginning. You get this, um, you just get this, but again, it's this tortured sound of the lyrics. Um, Hooray for the last of the madness. Hooray for no more misery, because I'm in the middle of darkness. You see, no hope's a dangerous thing, and you keep on listening to these lyrics, and the desperation that you get with the, you know, come on and kill me. I know that's what you want. Kill me. I want to die in your arms forever. Kill me. I know that's what you want. Kill me so my tortured eyes never see you again. Man, that's desperation. But when you're in the car with me, who, when the Manimal would come on and I suddenly turned into the Manimal, but then My Tortured Eyes comes on and you're singing those kind of lyrics, you start scaring the person you're riding with. And that's what started happening. It literally was almost like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of story. Kill Ahead. Yes, very catchy. Maybe not the greatest of choruses here, but again, the catchy rhythm, catchy riff, everything about it was so catchy. But then again, the gas pedal gets let off a little bit. And What's the intro song before they kicked off the show that you heard playing over the intercom a little bit before the concert? You heard a little bit of the end.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of the end kind of feels about some of these songs, and Kill Your Pretty Face has that the end feel almost throughout the entire song. You know, again, these lyrics, when you start taking the persona of the character that he's singing in these lyrics, it does, again, it scares the person you're writing with. And there was a time I'm singing this song or one of these songs, and we were riding back. I literally thought they were going to jump out of the car while we were driving down the highway. That's how scared they were getting. They thought I was going to go completely mental on them in the car, and they had every reason to. And but again, I got taken into this very dark place that, when I've heard Blackie say, we were in a really, really dark place when we wrote this. I don't want to ever go back to that place again. So I'm going to say it now. Y'all want another KFD? You ain't going to get it from him. But Kill Your Pretty Face, you get this build, this immense build, and then you get off that release when he screams, "Kill your pretty face," in that banshee wail of face. I tried to emulate that with all of my being back in those days. Can't do it now because my voice has gotten too old for it, and there's no way I could do it properly. But anyway, again, you're just transformed into that. Then you go to Fetus and Little Death. Fetus, you just get this scream. Again, this wailing scream throughout this atmospheric music that leads into Little Death. Again, a very powerful rhythm and powerful lyric. Maybe again, just a very dark lyric. I mean, gosh, just full of hatred, right, all through this whole thing. Next up, we go to, the darkness doesn't end here, folks. Then we go to You. You effing suck. You effing suck. Again, think of that poor person riding in the car with me as I turn to them, and I'm actually like I'm blaming them for what the song is talking about. And again, I deeply apologize for that, because that was not me it literally was Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. But You, again, such a dark, depraved song. Wicked Love, we finally get a breath of fresh air here. It's like you're almost transformed back to the first album, or maybe even a little, I don't know, even maybe a little bit of Inside the Electric Circus. But here again, yes, you have the lyric mentality of Sex Drive, but even darker and more depraved than Sex Drive could ever be, and Wicked Love. No, I don't even, no, I can't do that. I am not going to go into those lyrics. Trust me. It's like take Going Blind and Christine 16 to a different level. And that's what we get here. I mean, it's really, the horror, perfect closer. Again, you get that the end feel and this epic feel of the song. And it just blows your mind when you get to the end of this album. Tokyo's on Fire is another little bonus track that was on the Japanese version. Totally different song. This kind of sounds like almost like a sexualized Godzilla almost when you listen to the lyrics, but that's about the best way I can really describe it. But it's a pretty powerful song. Again, kind of reminiscent of that first album and that maybe Inside the Electric Circus, Last Command, that kind of style. But lyrically, again, maybe not as mature as Crimson Idol or Headless Children, or Still Not Black Enough, but still a decent song. So there are some versions that you can find if you get this album out there. I'll tell you what, when things went south in my life back in 1997, um I've never been one to literally throw an album away, but I had to confess, I actually did. I actually took my copies of this, and I actually put it in the dumpster because there was no way I wanted to sell that to somebody and have them experience what I just came out of and what I experienced. And it took me, I confess, it's taken me years to listen to this album again in its entirety. Yes, I did buy another copy, but I'm not, but that was 1997. This is 2023. I'm a much different person now. I'm a much changed person. I can now listen and I can appreciate why Blackie says he found this to be probably one of the most creative, kind of adventurous albums he's ever done. But he had to go to extreme dark places to get there, and he doesn't ever want to go back there again. And like I said, I don't blame him. So I was actually supposed to see W.A.S.P on this tour. It was supposed to be at the Electric Factory in Philadelphia. It was the first date of the American tour. They had just done a European leg, but unfortunately, the show got canceled, and I didn't know about it until I got to the Electric Factory. So it sucked to be me at that time. But the story I heard was Chris Holmes had a knee injury back at the European part of the tour and had to have emergency surgery or something, and he needed an extra. Unfortunately, the recovery date pushed him to after that show in Philadelphia. So I didn't get a chance to see KF or W.A.S.P yet at that point, or Motorhead, which was the other band with him. And it's here that I'm going to let John the Music Nut take over and talk more about the tour and what the tour brought along, and then I'll kind of finish with some extra thoughts.
Okay. Thank you, John. So, as we talked about last week, W.A.S.P did 5 shows in California as a warm up to this tour, and they did a couple songs off the album. And for this 1997, now I know Setlist FM doesn't have everything, but I saw 58 shows for this tour. 20 were in the United States. I believe 5 or 6 may have been in Japan. The rest of them were in Europe. They hit Germany, Spain, England very hard. But for this tour, they actually played, I see 5 songs here. They did Kill Your Pretty Face, The Horror, K.F.D, Kill Ahead, and Little Death live on this tour. They played smaller venues here in the States. They didn't, no mid-sized theaters now. Now they're playing places like Irving Plaza in New York City, the Strand in Providence, Rhode Island, Axis in Boston, Massachusetts, Jack's Nightclub in Springfield, Virginia. They're playing Bogart's in Cincinnati, Ohio. They played there before. They're playing the Odeon in Cleveland. They're playing the Palace in Los Angeles, Roseland Theater, Portland, Oregon. So Irving Plaza holds 1,200. They still bring in a lot of great music to this day. Those were the type of places that they were playing on this tour. The Electric Factory, I believe, if they played that gig, I believe that holds around 2,000 or so. Not even that much.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I never got to go inside the venue, so I didn't get to see it. So
Yeah, and I've seen shows in Philly, but I never saw one at the Electric Factory. But yeah, those were kind of venues they were playing. I believe in doing some research on this tour, Blackie was bringing back the visual stuff too. Like they were reenacting slaughtering pigs, if I'm not mistaken. Excuse me. So they did. Blackie really believed in this album on that tour, but I I'd be hard pressed, like you, John, to think that he would ever play anything off this again because he's not that person anymore. So he's a different person, totally different person now.
yeah.
So, but yes, they did do quite a bit on this tour. quite a few dates. Their first time in a while that they did. So yes, so that was the tour, and this was all in 1997.
Right. Yeah, visually this show was probably would have scarred me for life if I had actually seen this show.
Yeah.
There's there I've seen pictures of stuff from this show. I mean, there's like a thing where he has a I think he takes a prosthetic and rapes a crucified nun.
Oh
Uh,
yes, I read that too.
there's that. There's something he does with like a fetus, a baby fetus kind of thing. I mean, there's just some, the
Yeah.
blood, the killing of the pig on the stage and stuff. Motorhead said, we don't want to follow that. They got to clean all that crap up off the stage. So
Right.
I think they were always happy to go first because it was like one of those, if they could go first or Motorhead could go first. And I think Motorhead said, no, I think we just want to go first. By the time W.A.S.P got done, the stage was all full of blood and all kinds of stuff. You couldn't, you'd be slipping all over the stage.
Yeah.
But yeah, visually, this was a very dark visual show to behold. Um, Blackie and Chris both kind of taking on this, that kind of the white crow like makeup, or maybe a little black metal like makeup with the painted face and the teardrop thing and stuff like that. Chris, I think he just made his face up just white, and that made him look scarier than normal.
Hmm.
But again, they were coming off some pretty bad relationships. Chris and Lita Ford had just split up, and whoever Blackie was with, and I guess there was just some really dark stuff that these guys were going through, and they channeled it, and boy, but yeah, I think I like you alluded to earlier. I wonder how much, other than the couple of solos here and there, I really wonder how much Chris was on it. Because
Right.
there's no his lead flourishes just ain't there. So I'm always curious to know how much he actually really played on the album. He gets a songwriting credit for just about everything on here.
Yes.
They both have co-writes on this thing, so it is very curious to know how much he really contributed per se. Because again, you get a couple flourishes of solos, but it's more for the atmosphere and that
Yes.
feel, and that's about all you get with it. So, but yes, just a very dark, very moody, very atmospheric. I never gave a rating for this. If I was going to rate this now, hmm, I mean, I know I'm going to tick some people off with this one because I'll probably just say a 7, just because it's so hard for me to go back to it. I think back in the day, though, I probably would have given this a 10 just because I was just so into it, and it was too almost too much, too much into it. But um, yeah, just very, very deep and dark. Um, I mentioned, by the way, that that concert was canceled that weekend. So, again, I was living in Maryland at the time. So I was like about a 3 hour drive for me. So I'm like, well, that kind of stunk that the show's canceled. Thankfully, I had Ozfest 97 to go to the next day. So at least I had something to redeem the weekend. And that was over in Camden, New Jersey, at the big amphitheater, or whatever. What's the name of what do they call it now?
Oh, is it called like the Blockbuster Arena or something like?
Yeah, it's
I went
Homedale or so, I don't remember, but yeah,
Holden. Yeah, I saw Rush there in '97.
yeah. So so I got to see at least I got to see Ozfest '97 that weekend, which was good because um, now that tour about a week later after I saw it was when Marilyn Manson joined it, which I find interesting.
Hmm.
Because I think Blackie always said, when he saw Marilyn Manson, he was like, oh no, 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 you ain't gonna take this from me. So, and that's when he decided to step it up a notch. But yeah, I mean, the Ozfest tour was great too, because I saw, you had 3/4 of Black Sabbath along with an Ozzy set. Of course, he didn't have Bill Ward. That was the one missing. Yeah, Pantera, Typo Negative, Machine Head, Fear Factory, Power Man 5000. That was the main stage, and I think Cold Chamber and couple of other bands were on the side stage, but then there was also this little Swedish group called Drain STH that I was really, really happy to see. So like, yes, because I kind of dug their album. But anyway, not to sidetrack, but W.A.S.P fans, I know there's a lot of you out there absolutely that absolutely adore this album because it's such a dark, menacing, heavy album. Maybe that worries me a little bit about you. I don't know. But anyway, there's some folks who said this album got them through a very difficult time. They had a partner leave them when they were suffering from a near life-threatening disease. And they channeled that anger and that angst, and it helped make them stronger. And so I was like, wow, that I would never have expected that kind of a story. But my hat's off to you, brother. I'll give you that shout out. But I mean, a lot of people thought for the heaviness, for the darkness, they really gravitate to this album. Again, not one you can find on Spotify or Apple or any of that kind of stuff. You pretty much have to look on Discogs or eBay or somewhere to find a hard copy because it hasn't been re-released and hasn't been. And again, I think it's because it's on Castle Records and maybe the other label in Japan. Obviously not around, so maybe who knows who has the rights to it.
Right.
So who knows? But let me just kind of, I mean, you have this little, and I'm not going to open it too much because let's see. Oh no, I can't. Okay. Yeah. So that's kind of what you're looking into as soon as you open this baby. This is just a die cut, or not a die cut, but like a digipack. So, of course, in the inside, you get a closer look at the pig and what it's written on it, the KFD, of course. But yeah, KFD, very, very deep, very dark, very menacing, very depraved. An album that, like I said, I have a deep history with, but at least now I can say I can listen to it again and I'm okay. I'm not going to go back to those places again. I'm a different person. So is Blackie, and I'm grateful for that. But this tour would give us another little live recording, which we will get to talk about a little bit next week.
That's right.
And what a fierce recording it is.
Absolutely.
So, any last parting thoughts today, Mr. John the Music Nut?
No, I have nothing. I'm looking forward to talking about next week's album. A double album, I might add.
Yes,
it's going to be a fun one to talk about.
Absolutely, it will. So, with that said, folks, this is John Clauser, Johnny Metal, Johnny Metal at my music corner. I'm getting all tongue-tied with my co-partner in crime during this amazing series, John the Music Nut, who I'm so thankful for. I'm glad we were doing this together.
Thank you.
Y'all, until next week, don't stay in the darkness for too long. Enjoy this album for what it is. Know that Blackie is not that person, even though you kind of wish he would get back there, but take this album for what it is and embrace it for what it is. And until next week, we'll see you soon.
Take care.